Hey guys, it's me, and I'm going to react to 10 craziest butterfly effects in WWE history. Basically, um, butterfly effects is like the what ifs in general, but if I remember correctly, there are some what ifs that WWE has. Like, for example, if what if John Cena did have the Doctor of Thugonomics character, there are reports that he will get fired immediately in 2002. And because that he had that character, it saved his career and he became one of the all-time greats or goats in WWE history. And there's a lot of, other what ifs, butterfly effects, that what if Brock Lesnar did leave WWE back in 2004? You could argue that he would be the face of the company. Or you could think of what if CM Punk didn't leave 2014? Would he still get a WrestleMania moment of being in the main event, or maybe being part of future main events in the next WrestleManias? And there are other what ifs as well. Like, what if the Undertaker's streak wasn't been broken? Especially that, it was the worst decision that they made Brock Lesnar beating Undertaker. Supposedly, you could give it to Bray Wyatt, recipes to Bray, by the way, or you could give it to Roman Reigns, because let's face it, like, Roman was the next guy, and he did beat the Undertaker, but it would be best if you give it to him or to Bray Wyatt, the passing of the torch of a new scary character in WWE, or you could at least not give Undertaker to lose at WrestleMania. Keep the streak intact. But overall, you know, as we're going to react butterfly effects, there are some, you know, what ifs or butterfly effects that WWE has in store. So let's get into it.
The butterfly effect is the idea that small and somewhat trivial events may ultimately result in major consequences. When it comes to pro wrestling, specifically WWE, there are numerous moments that have altered the trajectory of the company forever, and if they never happened, then it's hard to know and accurately assess the future direction of WWE. Join us now as WrestleMania looks at 10 of the craziest WWE butterfly effect moments. Be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell for daily wrestling videos, and follow us on Facebook for exclusive lists. Number 10. CM Punk doesn't walk out of WWE. In 2014, CM Punk shocked the wrestling world by walking out of WWE. He was frustrated with the system and he needed to escape the WWE bubble, as it was doing him no favors whatsoever. Punk's departure sent shockwaves throughout WWE, and before Punk left, he was said to be in one of the top matches at WrestleMania 30 against Triple H. Punk leaving meant that WWE had to drastically move around the card, and Punk leaving ultimately resulted in Daniel Bryan getting his much-deserved moment in the main event. Triple H would now face Bryan, with the winner being added to the Batista vs Randy Orton WWE title main event, and finally Bryan's planned match versus Sheamus would be cancelled completely. If Punk doesn't leave WWE in 2014 and decides to stick it out, does Bryan ever get his moment? Does Punk eventually leave the company even more disgruntled? Does Punk run himself into the ground to such an extent where he causes irreversible damage? It's a crazy alternative timeline. Number 9. The plan.
That's kind of a bit crazy though. So if Daniel Bryan did not get that opportunity, if Punk had to stay, so that does mean, you know, we could at least see Batista versus Orton for that main event, because that was supposed to be planned, but it was changed because the fans were on Daniel Bryan's side at that time, the yes movement. But that's kind of a bit crazy though. Like, we would had that best moment during that time if Punk, didn't left. It's crazy though when you think about it. And again, like, it is what it is. Like, if the company didn't treat you right, of course, what would you do? Would you still stay or you leave? And that's what Punk was doing. If he wasn't okay with the direction, he had to leave. And that's how it is.
And finish at WrestleMania 30 goes ahead. The Divas title was defended for the first time at WrestleMania 30 when AJ Lee defended the title in a multi-women match. The original scripted finish was supposed to see AJ make Naomi tap out by cheating. It was reported that AJ would grab Naomi's hand and make Naomi tap out in that manner. This would have then allowed the feud to continue and for WWE to build to a huge AJ vs Naomi pay-per-view match. The issue was that Naomi ended up actually tapping with her free hand, meaning that it looked like a legitimate win. Naomi had no legitimate reason to seek a rematch, and as a result, this would have had a knock-on effect that would alter the women's division forever. Paige would then be called up to the main roster and would be booked to instantly defeat AJ on Raw after WrestleMania. Additionally, now that Paige was on the main roster, a planned Paige vs Charlotte Flair feud in NXT was cancelled, and instead Flair would take on Natalya. This all-time classic NXT match resulted in Flair gaining a mass surge of momentum, and this was a match that propelled her into the contention for being one of the strongest female stars in the company. Therefore, if the botch didn't go down at WrestleMania 30, Paige isn't called up, Flair doesn't receive her breakout moment, and ultimately, this could have hindered the presentation of the women's division for many years to come. Number 8. Mark Henry breaks the streak. There have been countless times over the years where WWE have made plans to end the streak. Even though the legendary streak was eventually conquered by Brock Lesnar in 2014, WWE put the wheels in motion for numerous wrestlers to get a huge boost by defeating The Undertaker, and in 2006, it looked like it was going to be Mark Henry. According to WWE executive Bruce Pritchard on his podcast, WWE were going to proceed with Henry breaking the streak. However, as WWE got closer to WrestleMania 22, Vince McMahon got cold feet. Now, if Vince followed through on this move, then it would have changed everything. Henry would have emerged as WWE's top heel at the time, where he probably wasn't ready for the role. The Undertaker's matches against the likes of Shawn Michaels, CM Punk, and eventually Brock Lesnar wouldn't have had the streak element attached, and there's no telling if these matches would have even taken place if the streak was no longer a marketing tool. Number 7.
Damn. That's kind of crazy though. Like, if they go with that direction, I can guarantee you that Mark Henry would be the biggest star at that point in his career, knowing that he would become a world champion immediately after being the streak, and we wouldn't see one of those best matches with Shawn Michaels and Triple H, CM Punk, and it is one of those things that if the boss thinks that what, I would change the plans. Maybe I don't feel that the person is going to win the match. Again, it's understandable that what Vince did was the right decision, because again, like, if that's the decision that they're going to go, it kind of hurts. It kind of get the feeling hurt that the streak was a nice way of presenting that Undertaker was been undefeated for years, and the fact that they decided, what, we'll make him lose to Mark Henry. Again, Mark Henry, respectable Hall of Famer, but there are different guys at that time that you could build. Again, some of those wrestlers denied or didn't want to break the streak. Randy Orton didn't want to break the streak. Edge didn't want to break the streak. Other guys at one point, because they see them as the next to become the top heels, but they understand that having the winning streak was special. Again, worst decision that they gave it to Brock should be, again, before, it should have been Bray Wyatt or Roman, or you could have someone before. If Edge was the guy and he didn't deny, he would be the guy, but it would take away everything. Again, Edge knows that this is important. Randy Orton knows this is important. So instead of breaking the streak, let the streak continue. But again, it is Vince's decision. Whether you like it or not, it's like that.
Finn Balor doesn't get injured. WWE had grand plans for the launch of the Universal title in 2016. They would make Finn Balor the inaugural champion, and the idea was that Balor would be the face of Raw. The plan was for Balor to enter into a feud with Kevin Owens, and then the belief was that Balor would be thrown into the middle of a red-hot Owens and Chris Jericho storyline. Obviously, Balor got hurt and he was subsequently forced to surrender the title after a lousy 24 hours. But what would have happened if Balor didn't get injured? How would he have been presented? If Balor doesn't get hurt, Owens never becomes Universal Champion a few weeks later, and this also means that Goldberg likely doesn't win the title in early 2017. It would only be logical that Balor walks into WrestleMania 30 as Universal Champion against a top heel on Raw, and this leads to Goldberg and Brock Lesnar finishing their story without the Universal title attached to it. Number 6. Kevin Owens doesn't drop.
That depends, but it's kind of sad that Finn was the inaugural Universal Champ, and they didn't give him a World Championship. They gave him a match, but they didn't give him the championship as much when he came back. It's kind of sad though, because he was hella popular at the time. Again, like, it depends on Vince's decision. It's kind of sad because he was the guy. He got a character that people would love. He was hella over. He was supposed to be the biggest babyface at that point. But it's kind of sad that they didn't give him a chance to be champion, by the time that he came back. And that's just Vince for you.
Drop the Universal title. Following Finn Balor's unfortunate injury, the story between Chris Jericho and Kevin Owens dominated Raw. The storyline received critical acclaim as fans loved it, and the two had electric chemistry. Ultimately, the planned payoff to the storyline was Jericho challenging Owens for the Universal title, and this is something fans were actively pushing for. Unfortunately, overnight this changed. The plans went from Jericho versus Owens for the Universal title in the main event of WrestleMania 33 to the two now competing for the US title. Speaking on Busted Open Radio, this is what Jericho had to say regarding the bold booking move from WWE and why it influenced him to leave the company. If WWE gave Jericho the match everyone wanted, then there's no doubt about it, Jericho doesn't leave WWE. Additionally, we all know that this booking move influenced Jericho to sign for AEW, and with AEW unable to attract the multi-time former WWE World Champion, is the startup of AEW such a monumental success? It's a very interesting theory to think about. Number 5.
This one is a bit, interesting because, Chris Jericho wanted him and Kevin Owens for the Universal Championship at WrestleMania. Basically, the storyline was there. Like, that was the best storyline that WWE had at that time. But instead, they gave Chris Jericho the US Championship, and that is basically the one that they're going to fight for, compared to the Universal Championship that Chris Jericho wanted. And I get it, you put Goldberg versus Brock Lesnar for the Universal Championship, but let's face it, that match doesn't need to have a Universal Championship match at all. Like, you could have those two one-on-one, doesn't have to do with the championship. And it kind of makes you wonder that, Vince knew that if someone gives you this, and then it is decision if you want to do it, or not. And it kind of hurts because now Chris had to sign AEW, being the inaugural AEW World Heavyweight, or the World Championship, AEW World Championship. And the rest is history. But man, I hope that Vince should understand at that time that they have something. It's just that he doesn't see it. And it kind of makes you wonder that what was on his mind, he preferred this over what others think that it's what's best for the business itself. And this one again, John Cena doesn't rap for Stephanie McMahon. This is the most important what if for John Cena's career, especially in WWE.
John Cena doesn't rap for Stephanie McMahon. Imagine a world in which John Cena is released in 2002. Well, it actually almost happened. After a strong start to his WWE career, Cena was lingering around with nothing to do. Cena was on the chopping block, and according to Cena, it seemed inevitable that he was going to be cut. However, this would all change when Stephanie McMahon overheard Cena freestyling, and when McMahon asked Cena if he would be interested in bringing the character to TV, the rest was history. Cena would get so immensely over with the character that just a few days later, they would make the call to make Cena the face of the entire company. What would have happened if McMahon had never heard Cena rap? Well, the release would have gone ahead and WWE would never find their next top guy. Who would have taken on Cena's role as the next face of the company, and who would have carried the WWE throughout the PG era? That one rap was monumental in Cena's entire WWE career. Number 4.
That's one of the things. If Brock left, and imagine that Cena didn't, get resigned because he doesn't want to do the rap gimmick. So if they're looking for a top star at that time, it could be Batista. And whoever, counters between Batista, it's either him and Randy Orton. Because the thing is this, right? If Cena wasn't the guy, you could argue that Batista and Orton would be, the top guys at that point. Of course, Randy is a heel, right? You need two baby faces. Orton was, they tried to test him to be a good baby face. Of course, he was good as a heel for sure. But you could argue that without Cena, you could have Batista versus Orton, and they would have a great rivalry during the era at that time. In the, what is that? The Ruthless Aggression era. So, yeah. Again, John Cena's career wouldn't be where he is right now because he didn't do the rap gimmick. Again, he had a lot of things to do, at that point before turning to a wrestler. And then there was this one part that he almost, gonna get fired or got released because he doesn't have a character. And now, to where he is right now, he wouldn't be where he is right now because of that rap gimmick. And good thing Stephanie was there. Because imagine if Stephanie wasn't there, or imagine that he didn't rap with Rikishi and Rey Mysterio at the back, he wouldn't be where he is right now at some point in his career. So, yeah.
Mustafa Ali never gets hurt. An unfortunate injury to Mustafa Ali in 2019 changed the career of Kofi Kingston forever. Kingston would replace Ali in the annual Elimination Chamber match, and Kingston's performance ignited such a positive fan response towards him that WWE had no choice but to deliver a Kingston storyline which would see him challenge for the WWE title at WrestleMania 35. It's believed that the original plans for WrestleMania 35 were Daniel Bryan versus Kevin Owens for the WWE title, and it's never been made clear what exactly WWE had in store when it came to Kingston. If Ali never got hurt, then Kingston is never pushed into the main event scene, and this also means that the infamous Brock Lesnar squash match never goes down. It's truly unbelievable to think how an injury to a wrestler can alter the trajectory of WWE history. Number 3.
The thing is about Kofi Kingston's, when he finally win the WWE Championship, it was like finally he got it. Like at some point, yes, he was having a big push in 2009, but because of that botch mistake, it was the one thing that kind of derailed his push. To the point that yes, the crowd was behind him before WrestleMania 35, and yeah, Ali get hurt. If Mustafa Ali did, of course, he wouldn't get to where he is right now. Like, Kofi deserves to be world champion because he gave it everything to the company ever since. And it was nice to see that finally Kofi had his moment. But at the same time, WWE didn't at least did something for Kofi at that time, knowing that yeah, the crowd was behind him, so you could at least do something with it. But again, it's their decision, especially. But it's good that they made that decision, that they made Kofi as the WWE Championship. But the one thing I did not agree is the fact that he had to lose to Brock Lesnar in 8 seconds. I get it, it is SmackDown on Fox, but what the hell was that? Don't tell me that a squash match is the reason to get again. That was the moment that again it's 2019, right? The year that WWE wasn't that great. Not because of the Kobe Mania, it's just one of the regular shows in general. If I remember correctly, there's a video that the worst years 2017 to 19, I think, or 2018 to 19. Again, there were some good moments at that time period, but there were some bad ones, and I can guarantee you, it was one of the worst years, or the one of the worst year for WWE to make wrong decisions every single time. There were some good ones for sure, but there were some worse ones that they didn't know what to do.
Scott Hall and Kevin Nash re-sign in 1996. In 1996, two of WWE's top stars, Scott Hall and Kevin Nash, decided to leave the company. The two were happy to stay in WWE, yet WCW were offering a lucrative contract with guaranteed money for less dates, so it was no-brainer as far as they were concerned. The two leaving and signing for WCW would lead to the formation of the NWO alongside Hulk Hogan, and this would result in WCW becoming the hottest pro wrestling company in North America. What would have happened if Hall and Nash didn't jump ship? The NWO would have never existed and WCW would have never had their major boom. Also, if WCW remained in the same established position, then WWE would have been less inclined to introduce an edgier product and usher in the Attitude Era. Additionally, if Hall and Nash re-signed with WWE in 96, then the infamous curtain call never goes down. If the curtain call doesn't happen, Triple H wins the annual King of the Ring and Stone Cold Steve Austin never delivers the iconic Austin 3:16 promo. This is an alternative timeline that would have had many twists and turns, and it would ultimately alter the WWE we know today. Number 2, Bret Hart doesn't jump ship.
Man, that was crazy though. Stone Cold win the King of the Ring. Triple H wins it, and at the same time, Triple H will not gonna get punished. Will not gonna get punished by by Vince, because of course, basically you got four guys. Two are out to sign for WCW. One was Sean. Of course, like he's not gonna get punished for being part of that curtain call, and now Triple H. Of course, he got punished for sure, but that's how it is, like sometimes kayfabe needs to be protected. Now it's difficult, or ever since that technology evolves, it was very difficult now because you can see wrestlers do certain things. Some wrestlers are still protecting kayfabe, but it's so difficult now at some point because there are some people already know about the secrets and things about the wrestling business, that not all heels are bad guys in general. There's some heels that are bad in real life, but not everyone. And that's the thing, the role of a bad guy is to be hated, but there are some bad guys that people kind of respect or kind of be like appreciated, unless if you're a fan of that. But yeah, if Kevin Nash and Scott Hall, recipes to Scott Hall, did not, leave the company. At that point, no Attitude Era, or maybe there is, but we wouldn't be sure who will be the top guy at that moment. Who knows? Maybe Triple H could be the top guy, could be, but regardless.
Jump ship to WCW. What would have happened if Bret Hart didn't jump ship to WCW in 97? Well, the almost obvious thing is that the Montreal Screwjob would have been avoided. The Montreal Screwjob is one of the most famous real-life events in pro wrestling history, and with this kayfabe-shattering event never taking place, where does this lead the world of kayfabe heading into the Attitude Era? Hart failing to jump ship to WCW in 97 also results in Hart being a key figure into WWE in the 2000s. Naturally, this would mean that Hart never wrestles Goldberg at 99's Starrcade event and ultimately would have never had to retire. Hart would have then been able to have dream matches against the likes of Eddie Guerrero and Kurt Angle under the WWE banner. Hart himself would discuss how his career would have panned out, and during this incredible interview with Fightful, Hart predicts that he would have taken Pat Patterson's job in WWE. I was going to work in some facet of the office. I was actually under, if my memory serves me right, I think I was going to take Pat Patterson's job and work with the matches. Another notable butterfly effect in Hart leaving for WCW in '97 was the creation of the Mr. McMahon character. The evil Mr. McMahon character would have become a central antagonist on WWE TV following Survivor Series, so if Hart stays in the company in '97, does the Mr. McMahon character become a pivotal player on screen? If this never happens, this means that the McMahon vs Stone Cold rivalry that was arguably one of the reasons for WWE's boom period never even occurs. And number 1, the Day 1 pay-per-view. WWE's first and only Day 1 pay-per-view was about to be headlined by Roman Reigns vs Brock Lesnar for the Universal title. According to reports at the time, the creative plans were for Lesnar to win the matchup and put a definitive end to Reigns' run as champion. Over the Raw brand, the multi-man WWE title match was set to feature Seth Rollins coming out on top and becoming the new WWE champion. When it was announced that Reigns had tested positive for COVID-19, this forced WWE to change the plans. Lesnar would be added to the title match and would end up winning the respective title, and WWE moved forward with a title versus title match between Lesnar and Reigns for the top billed match at WrestleMania 38. If Reigns didn't get COVID in 2022, then what exactly does the main event scene in WWE look like heading into WrestleMania 38? There's no way WWE will book a Reigns vs Lesnar match again for WrestleMania, so where does this leave two of WWE's biggest stars? Also, if Rollins walks into WrestleMania 38 as WWE champion, does he still face a returning Cody Rhodes, or does Rhodes take on a different opponent? Another key butterfly effect moment here is Biggie. Biggie was WWE champion coming into the show, and if Rollins wins the title, did WWE commit to booking a feud between Biggie and Rollins for the title heading into WrestleMania 38? If this is the case, then this means that Biggie doesn't go back to SmackDown and likely wouldn't have found himself in the infamous match which resulted in him breaking his neck. Crazy to think about, right? What do you guys think of these alternative?
Yeah, that's one of those things that people should know, that yes, Biggie won't get hurt. Um, we could have a different match at WrestleMania at some point, for WWE Championship and the Universal Championship. Unless they're gonna merge as one. We could see like Seth versus Roman Reigns. That could be interesting. But overall, yes, it kind of makes you wonder if COVID did happen. Also, another what if COVID-19 wasn't exactly happening in real life. Like, you could imagine that Drew McIntyre would have won the WWE Championship with the crowd at WrestleMania 36. It is one of those things that, yeah, it just happened in real life that is unexpected. But, man, there are a lot of things in life that we may not know what's gonna happen if this occurs. And again, this is one of the, I would say that I would apologize because it's a bit long for me to explain, because knowing that I like this type of content, especially the what ifs, because it's like you will understand what's gonna happen and you think of ways of how would this happen, how would you book this type of things, or what if the person who we know that didn't left at all, what will happen, right? I like this type of topics, but overall I just wanted to say, for this video, give it a like. Again, subscribe to WrestleMania. Also give a like and subscribe to the channel for future uploads of videos. And thank you for watching. Again, I apologize if it's a bit longer because again, this is one of those topics that I really like to discuss, since majority of the butterfly effects, the top 10 craziest butterfly effects, are basically the ones that I know based on history itself. Again, this is a good video, so once again, thank you for watching, and until we see each other in the next video, peace.